Nearly everyone has had a job that just simply sucked. In this podcast, we dive into the terrible workplaces that exist, either due to customer interactions, horrible bosses, bad culture, or environment. Tune in each episode to hear interviews and news stories of why work sucks.
Hello, this is Brian Lamar, and you're listening to another episode of the podcast Work Sucks. Work Sucks is a podcast where we talk about everything that makes the workplace suck, whether it's a bad boss, bad customer interactions, work safety issues, you name it, all that kind of stuff. Today, we have Jamie on the air, special guest that's coming into us. She's a bit of a social media influencer, and I'm really excited to have her on the air today. Hey, Jamie, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't know you personally, but I've been following you for a while on Facebook and just watching all your videos. You seem like a super positive and caring person. What made you that way?
Basically, just like, I guess when you've gone through a lot of trials and things in your life, it helps you to be empathetic. And in order to, survive those kind of things, you have to get on the positive side of life.
Yeah. So even the title of this podcast sounds kind of negative. Work sucks. But the purpose of this podcast is to share stories about your interactions and jobs that you've had previously that basically hopefully it helps people realize they're not alone in their struggle in the workplace and that it's normal, and hopefully we can learn some lessons and best practices and go forward, and it's a community that helps each other. So all right, so you have a job in your past that sucked. Most of us do. So tell us about your specific job that sucked.
So my job was working at Applebee's. I was a server there, and also I was a bar back there.
So explain to me what a bar back is. I've heard that term a bunch, and I've never worked in a bar specifically, but I know that the bar back is something like the logistical hub of the bar. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So basically, the bartender is like the pretty face who pours the drinks and socializes. The bar back is like the mule. Like, you're in the back, you have to go get ice. You have to go get like the big heavy containers of, kegs of beer, containers of margarita mix. Like, you get dirty. It is a lot of heavy lifting, hard work. And then it's very demanding because the bartender gets stressed out. Everyone wants to yell at you because you're kind of lower on the totem pole,
Okay. So you're the person that takes all the hits whenever things aren't going right.
Absolutely.
All right. So tell us about Applebee's. What made it suck for you?
So the thing that was hard for me with Applebee's I am a woman in long-term recovery. I just celebrated 7 years sober.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I was living at a sober living facility and working at this Applebee's and, making a transition from drinking all the time to being sober is not easy. And my job working as a barback and as a server in Applebee's all around alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Was so challenging. But it was, what I was doing that time to pay the bills. I was building a firm foundation in my recovery. I was going to meetings. I had a great network. And so I remember one day I was struggling so bad. It was so busy. It was like a Friday night. They were having $2 fishbowl margaritas or something. There was a game on TV. It was crazy. Just people drunk and yelling and it was just so stressful. And all I wanted to do was have a drink. All I wanted to do. And I had some personal stuff going on, something I was dating this guy and he totally cheated on me or whatever. So I was just looking for a reason, right? So it was so crazy. It was 7:30 at night. I remember they told me to go in the back and go get one of these big vats of margarita mix. I'm talking, it's like a huge jug of margarita mix you have to carry. So I'd go back there, and I remember just locking the door in the freezer and screaming at the top of my lungs, I am not going to have a drink today.
Oh my
And
goodness.
just stayed in there and was just like screaming. And, it's like insulated, so nobody can hear you. Right. So I just took like a couple minutes and just screamed, and that's what you have to do sometimes, right? Sometimes you got to get extreme with it, right? When
Yeah.
life
You touched on a point. I don't have a whole lot of experience with addiction recovery, like programs or anything like that. But I had a friend who was in the program, and he told me that one of the biggest triggers or one of the biggest pitfalls for people is when they're new to recovery, getting in a relationship, and then that relationship goes south on you. That's usually a big trigger. So you were fighting kind of a hard section of work there with temptations and also dealing with relationship problems. How did you manage to not take a drink? I think most of us would.
I don't know. I think I just literally like screamed it out. I mean, screamed it out, prayed, like just demanded that I was not going to fall into this temptation, into this trap. And I didn't. And that was probably like one of the most powerful experiences, because it really taught me that, no matter what situation I'm in, I can get through anything.
Yeah, I mean, those are powerful words. So, all right. So you dealt with it. You got past that night. But, obviously Applebee's, you're going to continue to have to serve drinks and stuff every week in, week out. How long did you have to deal with that?
I worked there I had worked for Applebee's for like a long time. So, and then when I came into recovery, you know what I mean? It was kind of just like the job that I stayed with. I think I had stayed for 15, 16, 17, 2 years. 2 years after that, until I got into my career that I have now, which is massage therapy.
Okay. All right. And with being a barback, let's go on the barback side, because you've got, basically you've got two parts to this job that are equally difficult. Being a barback, you're having to stock the shelves and stock the bar basically, and you're physically touching booze every day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the only thing separating you is a piece of glass or a piece of plastic from that alcohol, and so you figured out how to get through that. But then tell us about when you're a server, the low tips, the Karens, the hey, send this back. Tell us about that.
Yes. Okay. So the Applebee's that I worked at, it was not in like the greatest part of town. Okay. So, and look, Applebee's is the only place that's open till like 2 a.m. All right. I mean, we're serving $2.99 fishbowl margaritas, right? So what are we getting in? We're getting in like drunk college kids. We're getting in like basically people who, like, nobody's coming for like a fine dining sit down. Like, I know that who was the guy, the Walker Hayes who made the Applebee song?
Yep.
Like
fancy
that,
like. Yeah.
that fancy like song. Like, I mean, he really put Applebee's up quite a few notches. But
my kids love that song, and then my I've got a 9-year-old who's about to turn 10. Last year, he wanted to go to Applebee's for his birthday dinner because of that song. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. They brought Applebee's back, that guy, I'm telling you. But yeah, so, and also the Applebee's I worked at, like the kitchen, like there was always like, it was dirty. Okay. Like there was always like hair coming in people's food, like food coming out terrible, and like long waits. I'm talking people are waiting like an hour long for like a mid-rare steak on like a Friday night after waiting 2 hours to even sit at a table. what do you think that they want to do when they see my face?
Right. Yeah, they're going to scream at you. People don't realize that it's not your fault. You're basically the conveyor belt between the kitchen and the customer, and then they're going to yell at you.
Exactly. And then in between you taking care of your tables, people yelling at you, giving you crappy tips because their food, like, was the wrong temperature or whatever, which had nothing to do with you and was not your fault. Besides all of that, then you have a ton of side work at the end of the night. So I'm talking, you have to roll like 100 pieces of silverware after you're done dealing with all of the BS, getting yelled at a million times, getting stiffed on tips. And guess what also happens when people run out on their bill? Guess who has to pay for it?
No, yeah. So I've been told this before that if somebody runs off, the actual law. I'm in Mississippi, and the actual law on the state law books is called defrauding an innkeeper. That's the actual law, and anything above $25 can be pretty significant as far as like fines and penalties and jail time. So I'm told that a lot of times though, instead of trying to report it and try to track the people down, the owners just try to take it from the servers.
Yes, which I think is completely unfair because how are we supposed to warn off somebody who's going to run off? First of all, that's the last thing we expect is somebody to run off on their bill. And then what? Are we supposed to run after them in the parking lot and put our life in jeopardy to like try to catch somebody and demand that they pay us? It's crazy.
It's funny you say that, and I'm just going to interject real quick. A quick story. I've been a food columnist for quite some time. I've had a food column for 20 something years, and one day I set up a food interview or review with this restaurant over in Mobile, and it was going great. And at the end of the bill, or at the end of the night, instead of getting the bill, like we usually just had the food comp to us because they're getting free advertising, all that stuff. It was sorted out before I got there with the manager. And so I get up and I walk out, and I'm walking around the streets of Mobile and Dauphine Street, and, pretty night. And this little 5'0" server comes running up to me in a dark, kind of almost like an alleyway, and starts demanding payment. And I told her, it's like, whoa, you got to go talk to your manager. But then I started scolding her. I was like, don't come out here chasing down customers. You could get hurt. What are you doing? So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, because we don't want to have to pay for that. It's crazy.
Well, we ran up like a $300 bill that night because we were sampling the whole menu. And when I sent her back to the restaurant, I went back with her and we talked to the manager. And he's like, oh, yeah, this is all comped. And then she, obviously, she was all okay after that. But she thought she was on the hook for $300.
She was coming to get that.
Oh, she's going to take me out. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And, also with all of that, then like I was saying, we have side work. Okay. So side work consists of, you have to okay, the tables you sit at the restaurant, like they have to be like spotless. I mean, from the gum on the bottom of the table to the base, all the way to the floor, you have to like take everything off. You have to fill everything up, and then you have to vacuum with these little stupid broken whistles, like these little Bissell things. Not talking about like the ones where you plug in. No. Like the ones that get traction from going back and forth from like 1970, okay? And that's what you have to clean your floor. And then you have a person that literally will come and check it. They have to sign your receipt for you to even leave. Like you cannot leave without their signature. So if you have like one piece of paper on the floor, they won't sign it. They're like, no,
is gum on the bottom of a table still a thing though? I mean, it seems like such a 1990s thing.
You wouldn't believe.
Oh my goodness. I don't chew gum, so I guess I'm not up on the times. The last time I chewed gum, Cineburst was out on the scene. So I don't think they've had Cineburst for 20 years now.
Yep. People still do it, and kids, you know what I mean? Oh my goodness. But look, I love kids, okay? I love babies, but I hate babies sitting in my section, okay? Because the parents come and they bring those little like cereal things, and the baby just throws them everywhere, and then they get stomped all over in the carpet, and you got to clean all that up, and they spill things. It's crazy. It's so much cleaning up while while you have, probably usually about between 3 and 6 tables, depending on like what restaurant you work at, right? So you have like a whole section. So you are literally being pulled from table to table, trying to clean everything, trying to do your side work, trying to keep up on the kitchen. The kitchen's yelling at you. The managers are yelling at you because they don't have food runners, right? So you have to like run other people's food. You can't just like take care of like your section. You have to run other people's food. You have to run other people's drinks. It is like so stressful. Like literally, I think if I tried to do it at my age now, I would literally turn my whole head gray. Literally.
So I have two boys. They're only separated by 2 years, and when they were really young, I think it was a restaurant similar to the one we're talking about, one of the franchise restaurants. And my kids made such a mess that I was apologizing to the server because I knew that they were going to have to clean it up, and it was our mess. I said, listen, bring me the vacuum cleaner and I will vacuum it up. And she looks at me and goes, I would love to, but my manager would kill me if I did that.
Yes. And I'm telling you, moms, look, some of these moms with kids, that's why they bring them there, because they can make a mess and they don't have to clean it. Like literally, they do it like on purpose just so they can like laugh. It's terrible.
Okay, well let's talk a little bit about, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about tipping culture, because there's a lot of debate on whether, you go to Europe, you go to certain other places, and the servers, everyone gets a living wage, and then tipping is not really expected. But in the U.S., basically restaurants are getting almost free labor, and then tipping is expected at like an 18% rate-ish. So what did you have to deal with when dealing with customers regarding tipping?
Okay. So, like an average tip should be 20%.
Okay. All right. So I'm already low already.
Yeah, you said 18, like, it's 20%. That's like your average tip. So literally I made $2.13 an hour.
That's from your company. It's $2.13. And
right.
then,
yes.
So then I feel like as a server though, you're kind of like just depending on the kindness of strangers at that point to make a living wage.
Yes, you basically just have to like kiss everybody's butt and like give them like whatever they want, and so that they will give you a tip. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money. Now, it can be very lucrative. Like I will say that, like as far as like having a job like that was just like not necessarily in a career realm that like anybody can do. You don't have to have like a degree. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can make some good money working in restaurants, but you got to know how to play the game. You have to. You have to know how to talk to people. You have to know who your audience is. And sometimes you can be so nice and they still won't give you crap, right? And yeah, if their food takes too long, they don't tip you. I mean, generally, I want to say like I probably would make somewhere between $100 to $200 a night. And that would be like on like a busy weekend,
Okay.
Which is not bad, right? For just having like a job where you don't have like, you know what I mean? You're not like a manager. You don't have like responsibility. Right. You just clock out and you go home. You don't have to do nothing.
So you're saying on a busy night, like a Friday or Saturday night when there's football games playing, maybe even Sundays, you're getting on those weekend nights, you're getting in a shift about $200. So when things aren't great, like a Tuesday night, what was the average there?
So there you could say like maybe you're going to make like $30, maybe you're going to make $40, maybe. And that's working like a 5 to 9. Now, if you're a closer, so say they close at like 11, right? If you're a closer, that means that they cut the rest of the staff. That's another issue. Having too many servers on the floor. Okay. So they try to give you like a 3-table section or 4-table section when it's like, when they have like too many servers on the floor. Like in order to make good money, you have to, number one, be a closer, which means that they're going to cut all the other servers And believe me, everybody wants to get cut because nobody wants to stay enclosed because that's where you have to do the most cleaning and the most shutting down. However, that's where you make the most money.
So after the store closes, after the restaurant closes, and you don't have customers anymore, and then you got to do all the cleanup and stuff, are you still only making the $2.13 an hour?
Yes.
That's slave wage. I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like if you're not in the ability to get the time frame ability to get tips, that you should at least get minimum wage. Oh my goodness.
Yes, exactly. And then, so when you're a closer and you have to close, so your manager has to come check you out. Like, how before I was saying, like, somebody had to come go sign your receipt after checking your table and your side work. Well, now at the end of the night, like, a manager has to do like a walkthrough. And if everything's not perfect for him or her, then the opening manager is going to get on their butt, right? So you really have to, like, when they close at night, they want everything to be perfect. So you can imagine like a Friday, Saturday with like crazy people, like it's a mess. It's a crazy mess. And you're usually there for at least an hour after closing, maybe 2.
Okay, so an extra $4.26. Great.
Yes, exactly. Right. So it can be really, really frustrating. I worked for Applebee's for like a really long time, but when I gave my last day, like my notice, like my last day of when I started my new career, I was not sad. I was like, bye.
So imagine being a massage therapist, the tips are a lot better.
Oh, being a massage therapist is wonderful because look, first of all, people are happy when they see me. They're happy when they leave.
Well,
and
yeah. It seems like, well, that's the goal anyways, right?
right. Yes. Like, and they're, like they're either talkers or they're not talkers. Either way, I get to listen to like, music and I get to do something that I love doing. So it is definitely like a million times better. But I always say that like people are happy when they see me, they're happy when they leave. When I waitress, oh my goodness, nobody was ever happy. They were
Yeah.
never happy.
Well, I like the occasional massage, but I always dislike the music. It's always, you got a 90% chance that it's going to be Enya. And I don't have a problem with Enya, but if I'm sitting on the beach or whatever and looking at a sunset, Enya's perfect. But sometimes I cannot not fall asleep on that table if something like that is playing. And I know that's supposed to be like the ultimate compliment for a massage therapist, but I feel like I miss out on the massage if I just pass out.
Yeah, I do deep tissue medical massage, so people don't generally fall asleep on my table. But I do not listen to Enya. The beauty of having your own business is you can do whatever you want to do. And
Okay.
so, like, I mean, now if people have a request, I am totally down. Like, people have asked me to listen to AC/DC before. People have asked me to listen to jazz music before. Like, whatever you want to listen to, like, I'm cool with. I'm always down to hear different kinds of music, but generally I can listen to whatever I want to. So that is cool. Of course, working at Applebee's, they did have good music playing. So that was fun. That was one part. And I did really enjoy, like the connection because, you're with your coworkers and it's like, yeah, everything sucks and you're getting yelled at and it's crazy. But number one, the store is going to close at some point.
Yeah.
And number two, you're all in this together.
Yeah, well, that's good. Some camaraderie, light at the end of the tunnel. It's funny. Even though we're kind of poo-pooing Applebee's as a brand a little bit, I am sitting here thinking I might get up from this interview and go to Applebee's tonight.
Yes, no, they do have amazing food. I actually worked for their company from, 2003 until 2017 on and off.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there's so many different dishes that I do like there. There's some that I don't, but if you're just wanting to go and get some Americana, just something quick, not necessarily fast food, but quick food, Applebee's is a good option in a lot of cities.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
At least you know what you're going to get.
Yes, exactly. Because it is always the same wherever you go.
Yeah, oh yeah. The menu, you could be in Alaska or Tampa, Florida, and it's going to be the same.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I do. I love their appetizers too, and they do have, a super popular drink menu and good prices. And of course their shakes, their Oreo shakes, right? I mean, the guy made a song about it. So they've got to be amazing.
What's the dish though he talked about right before the Oreo shakes?
The
Yeah,
bourbon steak.
I want to go have that tonight. I think I might actually go to Applebee's tonight. Now, now that we've
Look,
complained about it enough, I want to go.
the Parmesan sauce. I don't know if they have it anymore. They used to have like a Parmesan steak. Oh my goodness! Now that it was a shrimp and Parmesan steak, and that right there was amazing.
Okay, all right, good recommendation. I'm going to check that out. See, I'm a food writer at heart, so obviously this is just kind of gravitated in from complaining about a shitty job to like, hey, let's go eat at Applebee's. So, all
Hmm.
right, so last question about that job. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who finds themselves working in the kind of same situation as you? And this is a two-part question. As a barback and a server, in general, what advice would you give them to survive it if they're having trouble? And then on the other side, which is more along your current brand, if somebody's struggling with recovery and they find themselves surrounded by the temptations and the stresses that you found yourself, what's your big advice? So we'll start with that first piece of advice and then go to the second one.
Okay, so if you are a barback or server working in a restaurant, and it's crazy. I mean, I would try to shift. I would say shift your perspective. You know what I mean? Like the people are mean. Like just remember that they have to wake up with themselves the next morning and every day after that. They have to wake up with themselves every day. And
Mm-hmm.
also, try to shift your perspective on like the chaos can be entertaining. Like, yeah, it is crazy, but, sometimes you feel like it's like the apocalypse is about to happen when you're working in a restaurant. And just remember that there is a closing time, unless you work at a 24-hour restaurant, then I'm sorry. That doesn't
It's
apply.
just stuck there forever. Well, I mean, all right, you remember the movie Happy Gilmore when he had to go find his happy place?
Yes.
I mean, was the freezer? Was the walk-in freezer that for you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Going in the freezer where you're like, because you do get like hot. I mean, you're literally running all the time. You're kind of like an athlete when you're a server. So like, yes, being able to step out. I know smoking is huge in restaurants. I used to smoke when I worked at a restaurant. Go out back and like, just like smoke, calm down. Watch like a funny video real quick outside, like a 60-second reel or some like motivational videos, and just knowing that, that you can make it through it. I feel like honestly, everybody should be a server one time in their life so that they can be able to, I feel like you really pick up like a whole new set of skills.
Yeah, I say that also about being in the military or something like that. Everybody should do it for at least 1 year, just to kind of have that ability to say, okay, I learned all this, and now I'm done with that. Let me go live my life as a good person now.
Yes.
We didn't touch on something that I think listeners would want to know about. So as a guy, I haven't always been married with kids and tied down and everything, but as a guy, as a single guy, say in my 20s or even 30s, sometimes waitresses will come to the table and they're pretty and they're friendly and stuff, and you get this false sense of, oh, maybe I should ask for her phone number or something like that. I don't think I ever have actually, because I assume that waitresses and bartenders get hit on constantly. So, what do you have to say about that?
Definitely like I wouldn't give your number or try to get a number the first time. At least be like a regular. Like if you really want to like get to know your waitress, like and get her number, then don't just try to do it like the first time because that's just it seems shallow.
Okay. I was wondering if that was a taboo or whatever. I'm sure that it happens
Oh yeah,
constantly all
all the
over,
time.
all over the place. Okay. So, and then we were going to hit that second part of your advice to people who are in the same situation you were in, where you had all these stressors and temptations while you were actively struggling and battling against addiction.
Yes, absolutely. Um, okay. Please reach out. Reach out to someone because we are only as sick as our secrets. The opposite of addiction is connection. So if you don't tell anybody what you have going on and that you're struggling, then how is anybody going to know? How are you going to get that relief, right? Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Just reach out. And because, people would much rather answer your phone call or answer your message than go to your funeral.
Wow, that's good. That seems like great advice, not even just for addiction recovery, but also people who may be thinking about suicide as well. So,
Mhm. Absolutely, yes.
what
And
was
I
that
have
phrase though? The opposite of addiction is connection. Is that what you said?
yes, yes.
That's
hmm
powerful.
Yes, for sure. And I have been in a situation. I worked at this super fancy restaurant where like you couldn't have like your phones around or whatever. And I got really, really stressed out. And I remember I just started like praying. I went in the bathroom and just started praying because I didn't have a phone. I couldn't talk to anyone. So that could come up too.
Okay. Well, all right. So that's the last part of the interview that I have for you. Now, I want you to be able to tell us a little bit about your social media platform and what you're all about. So go ahead.
Cool. Well, yes, I am a recovery advocate. I am a certified addiction recovery empowerment specialist. I'm certified with Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. And I basically speak out about addiction and coach people. I have a recovery and coaching business called Miracles Recovery Coaching. And I coach people in recovery, I believe, and support multiple pathways in recovery. And for years and years and years, we have had the very traditional 12-step programs, which is great. I'm a 12-step baby. And but these days, there are so many different pathways to recovery, and people are not always comfortable with the 12-step method. So I work kind of in the outer realm of that with coaching, which is basically like peer to peer, where I use my lived experience to help people who are struggling in active addiction and in early recovery make it to their goals. So it's like a self-directed goal, whatever they want to do. I'm there to support and help with that in whatever way that I can. Like I said in the beginning of the interview, I just celebrated 7 years sober, July 20th, and I basically started speaking out about addiction because honestly, I was tired of my friends dying. And, when I was in addiction, I did not know that there was such a community. I didn't know there was such a loving community that would embrace me and that would help me because recovery was so anonymous back then. So these days, I make it my mission to speak out about recovery, to share about the things that I've been through, all of the things I've been through. I'm very vulnerable on all my platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I do interviews with other people in recovery. I love to spotlight people who have overcome very hard situations, just to be able to share hope. I think that is, what this world needs is to look at hope and know that there is a way out of whatever situation. And there's not just one way out. There's many ways out.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, I absolutely love your mission. I love your soul. I think that there should be a million more people like you in the world. And so thank you for what you do on a daily basis. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to email or Facebook message me all the links to your platforms so I can put those into the comments section or the description section for this podcast. So when people hear it, they have a place that they can reach back to you and find you online.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You can find me hashtag Jamie Tall anything, but yes, I will send you the specific links and everything for sure. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, that's it. Unless you have anything else to say, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, but thanks for being on the show.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It was super fun.
This has been an episode of Work Sucks. Work Sucks is a podcast in the Lamar Communications Group. For questions or a chance to have your story featured on this podcast, email the host at brian.lamar1453@gmail.com.